The Atlantic. I saw this. Shout out to Ninth Wonder. This is where I actually saw this to take me to the topic. But it says it's old music killing new music. It says old songs now represent 70%.
I need to read this.
70% of the U.S. music market. Some graphs that pretty much support that, and then they go on to say old songs now with that 70%. These are the latest numbers from MRC data. That they do analytics, and it says those who make a living from new music, especially that endangered species known as a working musician, to look at these figures with fear and trembling, because older music is being played more than newer music.
Nothing but the Thriller. No pun intended.
I see what you did, though. That's wordplay. I see what you did. What do we think about that? Because Ninth Wonder said one of the things that he thinks contributes to it is the fact that he didn't have to go online and see artists now and social media and see them and watch what they put out. There was a deeper connection with the artists back then, like the older music. I don't know if y'all agree with that or not. I'm just paraphrasing what I read from him. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that older music has stood the test of time. A lot of it still sounds good now. But you also have to remember, too, we take into consideration the internet and how everything is oversaturated now. Everybody rap. Everybody got a Focusrite. Everybody's got Pro Tools. So now...
I don't.
Yes, you do. Don't do that. You got a Focusrite. There's one right there.
I don't have Pro Tools. Ableton gang. Shout
out to the Ableton gang, 100%. But Jay Moore, I'll come to you first. Mm-hmm. What do you think? What's the disconnect? Why is 70% of the market older records that are being played as opposed to the new music? Because we always talk about the microwave generation, how stuff is here and it's gone, comes out and it's gone. Why are some of these joints not sticking around? Based off this article.
Based off this article and the analytics done to
yes
back up all the I think it's pretty easy. There's so much new music out and there's no emotional attachment to it because we don't have the time to get emotionally attached to music, because there are artists who will put out 3 or 4 albums a year now because it's hard to reintroduce yourself to the marketplace when things move so quickly. There were times where, like, the difference between what was it, Thriller and Bad was like 4 or 5 years. There's absolutely no way a record company would let an artist who had a hot record and was able to have #1 singles, there's no way they'd let you take a 4 or 5 year break.
Right.
Now, because
these cats ain't Mike Jack though.
But they're not. This is true. But at the same time, like,
Kendrick's trying it.
4 or 5 years. But 4 or 5 years
doing it
is the difference between. Yeah, but Kendrick is still going to be on a Super Bowl, so it'll be like he doesn't have to reintroduce himself to this marketplace. I swear,
it might be low key a springboard for him.
So I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden we get a Kendrick single that Monday morning. Right. But when you're talking about,
he's the exception.
He is very much the exception. But if you're just one of these artists that did, the equivalent to 500,000 units in a streaming era, and you're like, I'm gonna chill for a couple years. No, you need to get right back in the studio and get after it. I think also when you're talking about older music streaming and selling, like if I see a copy of Thriller in Target, because if you go to Target, they sell. I don't think they sell any CDs now, but they do sell vinyl.
I doubt it.
I'm gonna go ahead and pick up, or I'm gonna pick up, that Van Halen or whatever legacy piece of musical media, which is basically
it's art at this point.
When you're talking about picking up vinyl, I'm not picking up this new thing that I know I streamed the day it came out and I have no emotional connection to it. There are people who will buy a copy.
That's the key words right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
There are people who will buy a copy if they see Lionel Richie dancing on the ceiling and they say it's on, a new gatefold. They'll buy it just because they remember when this album came out.
They have a connection.
And they won't even open. I buy records and don't even open them.
Me too.
And just because
I got to stack them at the crib right now.
Right there. I don't open them either.
Yeah. And so but it's mostly older records. I don't buy new records because I don't have this.
Well, I do, but to support people.
To support, yes.
There's a newer one right behind us right now.
If one of the homies put out Wax, like if Slot put out Wax, I'm gonna buy it.
But you know what? Like, as somebody who's my age, like, okay, because I'm old, 44. Like, when I get on Tidal, which is how I listen to and stream my music, if it weren't for this show where we have to talk about certain things, and I wasn't trying to be up on the new music that we might have to play in the clubs I work in, I would never listen to anything new. There's no incentive for me to like. I
would listen to new stuff.
I mean, if it's like something like Corday or if it's a new J. Cole,
but like, get you for that.
But I the only reason I know NBA YoungBoy is because I ask my staff that's in their 20s. I'll be like, hey, who's hot right now? Who should I know about that I don't know about?
I know YoungBoy's status. I couldn't name no records, but I know his status.
I wouldn't. I'm not checking for and there's more. There's a lot more of us with the disposable income to have these streaming services to go ahead and listen to, the music, the hip hop from the 90s or the early 2000s and R&B from the 80s. So there's a lot of people going back to those. And the thing is, there are young people going back to those records because when we were young, you had to go back and buy those CDs, tapes, or records.
I actually think that's dope.
Now these young cats, if they see something in a movie and they're like, oh, what's this Al Green? What's this? My mom was watching the verses between Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isley Brothers, and I liked a couple of those records. And they go on and they listen to that. But older people my age are not going back and listening to younger people's music. Younger people are going back and listening to older music.
Listen to this, man. You'll catch me listening to... Before you catch me listening to something, unless somebody's put me on, if Lone sent me something, so my guy DJing J, if he sends me something, I'll listen to that. But you're more than likely going to hear me listening to, I don't know, man. It might be Coltrane, it might be Stevie, it might be Al Green, it might be, depending on the day, Pink Floyd. Those older artists connect to me because the quality has lasted. So I'm going to listen to those. So I might fall into 70%.
But how not to interrupt, but how much does this reflect the fact that we're all like 38-plus-year-old men that have already had our time with all this music?
That goes into it. I ain't gonna lie and say that doesn't. That
I feel like that's probably a significant part.
Part of it. It is. I can actually reference when I was young and coming up, and I did the same exact thing. I would listen to older music as well as the newer music.
But did you buy
the problem now?
The
older
I did
music? Definitely.
Like
I bought both.
I had the music that I wind up loving by the Temptations, the Dramatics, Teddy Pendergrass.
A lot of that stuff my parents had.
That's how I got put on
through because I would make tapes of stuff that my parents already had.
Yeah.
I wasn't going out into buying it.
But Terry, you said you bought both.
I would buy both because that's just what I was into. Like the G-Funk era made me really enjoy Parliament Funkadelic. So I would actually go out and buy those old albums.
Right.
But I think right now the problem is, well, not necessarily the problem, but the issue that we're running into with the old music versus newer music is people are making music for the moment and that's it. So once this moment passes, that music is no longer serviceable for anybody else.
Like
it's just time for right now.
I don't think it's just that though.
It's not just that, but I'm just saying that's one of the factors in.
For sure.
There's a whole lot of filler or stuff just for the moment. Here's an example that did crazy numbers and is a diamond single is Old Town Road. How many places are you going to go to and hear Old Town Road now? Versus what you did 2-3 years ago.
Shattered records.
Yeah, but it's you know what? I haven't heard that song in at least 6 to 8 months.
That's what I'm saying.
It's music for the moment. It's music for the moment, and it stands that test of time.
Right.
Versus artists back in the day were making music because they were in their artist bag. Like this was their lifeblood. I want to make this music.
Yeah.
I want to pour out my soul. Like is there any soul singers other than like a Leon Bridges or
Moonchild?
You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to my man.
They're kind of Joel.
It's like a handful of them.
Shout out to my man Bubby B. That's a soul singer.
There were people that was pouring their soul out on these albums.
They're out there.
They're out there, but you always have to put the but in it.
Yeah.
Because they're far and few between.
That's it.
Versus when back in the day, everybody was kind of on that same wavelength. And I'm not taking anything away from any of the newer artists because there are a lot of newer artists that are dope as well.
Extremely dope.
And don't fall into that moment music category. But 90% of the popular music is moment music right now. Like I've even told my nephew at one point in time that stuff that you dig right now is not going to be the same as the stuff you dig 10, 15 years later. None of this stuff's going to stick to the wall. Like a little bit will, but most of it won't.
Unless you really like the artist.
Right.
Okay.
But you know, when I remember it was before night, we like my man DJ Lockstar, shout out to him. He had gotten a new laptop, and you know, he's transferring music, and he's like, I have 8 versions of this song that I will never play again. Yeah. Clean, dirty, acapella, intro, clean, intro. And it's like, there's so many of those records at one point we couldn't live without in the club as far as what we play. But if you can go back just 2 years and, you know, songs by popular artists, we're like, we would never, ever play that song again. Yeah. And it's not because the song is bad, but because there's so much music that comes out, but like it speaks to that time, and it doesn't speak to any other time. And so like it gets to a point like anybody who's a DJ, go through your Serato and say, oh, I haven't played this record in 4 years, and I know
get rid of a whole lot.
No one will ever request it, and I have no reason to even put it into the mix.
I don't want you to lose your train of thought. Looks like you was gonna say something.
Yeah, I would just say the filler is more accessible now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that. It's really kind of the thing. I mean, it's to what Terry was saying, but kind of the question I was going to pose was pretty much, you know, it's like I'm looking at this graph from this article, which is a great article.
Yes, it is.
Mike or Terry, one of you guys posted it in our Discord. Check it out. But it's super long. But it even says here that more people stream Twitch than I don't know how they broke down the percentages, but than the Grammys.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like. I feel like as an artist in general, like now, this is kind of like a fear piece in a way for musicians, because it's saying, oh, you know,
they use that
if you make music now, be careful because only old music is popular. I just think it's a way that you have to think. I think it's actually kind of a good place to be in, because you have so many different types of opportunities to get your music in different areas. Historically, when I was coming up making music, it was like, all right, I have to make an album, then I have to find the right person to sign me or something, right?
Yeah.
Because there wasn't like an internet. There wasn't that thing, and it kind of changed. And later I learned about like syncing and, you know, licensing and scoring and doing all that stuff, right? I feel like there's so many options, and the options are becoming more readily available for musicians to be able to put their music in different avenues that they weren't able to before. Right. And we actually have the ability to have direct connection with our people once we create that base of whatever our people are. Just like Twitch and the new old heads, you know, we can talk to all of our people that like the show or like us, you know, to a degree, right?
I'm gonna play his. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But what I was going to say at the same time, yeah, go ahead, because I forget what I was gonna say.
You sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to play your soundbite every time I have this conversation now, because the way you tied it in and talked about how a lot of this stuff is moment music, I couldn't have said it even better. Like, it's going to fade away at some point. I don't want to say disappear, because, you know, people still play.
Essentially, it does. A lot of it does.
The majority of it might disappear, but
I'm of the belief that,
because I 100% believe that.
I'm of the belief, yeah, of course. But my thing is, it's not that there's more moment music, filler music being made. It's just that is more easily accessible now.
Yeah,
that's
in a streaming era.
It's the same amount that was being made in 1994.
No,
it's just that everybody can put all their stuff out, and everybody can push themselves to wherever they need to be.
Yeah, everybody can do it, and there's people out there that aspire to make one hit song, and that's it.
Yep.
They want to make that one hit song so that they can in turn be popular, be known,
and then pivot,
and then do whatever else they need to do.
Get a bag.
Yep.
This is a real good article, though.
Yeah, they go into detail. I'm glad you pulled it up, because they got a couple charts, and it goes a little bit deeper than, you know, I just touched the surface at the top, but very well executed, very well thought out. So shout out to the Atlantic. That and Ninth Wonder, actually, because that's what brought it to my attention.
Super long though.
Yeah. It's more, as they say, more meat and potatoes in there. But
it's one of them things where it's not filler. It's not a filler article.
It actually has layer. We could do a whole show on this article. To be honest with you,
that's facts.